BiL.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good this morning. How about yourself?
Okay. I'm I'm good. Ready to do the day, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you got some stuff back there on your whiteboard. What's going on back there?
So I had homework yesterday, right? We talked about creating the avatar, right? And
Mm,
so what this is, back here behind me, I to do this stuff, I have to start with the stuff I don't want to work with,
hmm
right? And then I can work backwards from there
mm.
to the things that I do want to work with, right? And so
Okay.
what I've got here are characteristics, statements, things that my no column will say. And then because since I know to look for something to disqualify, I'm also going to look for the opposite side of that indicates that they are a good fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
it's great.
um, so like the first one that I talk about all the time is like come in and fix my team. That's a negative statement. Like that's a statement that
Mm,
indicates maybe this isn't a good fit. People are saying come in and help us, help me, help the team, help and us in a very collaborative format. That's usually good language. Stuff like people who never trust salespeople. Well, John, you know those salespeople. You just can't ever trust
mm,
them. That's a huge red flag for me.
yeah.
Everybody else wants to trust salespeople. They understand that salespeople, if your salesperson is just in the office all day around the rest of the team, they're not out talking to customers, right? And so you don't really want them there all that time. And then when they do show up, they catch flack for not being around. So it's like a very weird dynamic that happens with most salespeople. So, but they have to want to trust salespeople. It's okay to have systems to trust and verify, and everything else like that. Big believer in that, but you have to want to build your system so that way your salespeople can go do the things that they need to do.
Okay.
Um, they're looking for optimal, consistent performance. They're not just looking to close every deal, right? There's a difference in
Mm,
how these people talk about it. Um, okay. A bad candidate for me wants to avoid the sales thing because they're not a salesperson. Okay. A good
okay.
candidate for me is too busy to do sales anymore. They've grown to a point, and these are once again you can hear it in how people talk about it.
Mm,
Um, on the nay side here, bad products. If your product sucks, sorry, can't do it. If you're unaware of your actual place in the market, like if you're, well, the should be enough. The whatever it is, the leads, the cold emails, or something else like this. If that is your thing, it should be enough because someone else charges X amount for it, and you don't really take the time to understand like why and all that other stuff. You just seen it in the marketplace, so therefore you want to charge the same. That's an
mm,
instant disqualifier for me, right, at this stage.
okay.
So, bag products, no USP, right? So, if you're not familiar with why you're different and what separates you from the other people in the space,
Mm,
um, and then also, like, I put market savviness on here. Like, you have to understand if you're the top tier offer in the place, awesome, great. But if you're not, own it and price yourself with that knowledge in place. Otherwise, you're just making it hard for yourself. And most of these people, when they're doing this stuff, don't have a standard until the salesperson comes in, and then they're like, no discounting to close deals, no, none of this stuff. And so they were willingly doing it before when it was just them because they're the owner. But now that
sure.
there's a salesperson, the game has changed.
Sure.
So on the nay side, chasing quantity. The
Okay.
yay side is chasing
Quantity.
quality, right? Um, and then on the nay side here, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot, there's a big difference in my conversations whenever I'm talking with someone who identifies as a founder, right? Like, hey, I founded this thing, and someone who says I'm an entrepreneur, right? Because like the entrepreneurial side is almost like broy and just like I just want to see if I can find a way out of this hole versus like actually caring about how the hole gets filled, right? There's a difference in how these people communicate about it. Thank you,
Yeah.
darling.
Yes.
Um, so these are all differences that I've heard in my conversations that indicate good fit versus bad fit. So I have them written down here, right? At the top of it, I have coachable on the yay side. I have set in ways / ego on the negative side.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's what I have
Awesome.
here. This is my
Awesome.
homework from yesterday.
Awesome. Love it. We talked about it off air. Once we got off air,
Yep.
checked in, and so that's great. So, I mean, we actually talked about this last year with me in reverse, in that I knew the type of client I wanted to hit, but I didn't know how to go find them, like how to prospect necessarily. Where are those people at? Or, and even in this situation, I think it'd be good. That it would be good to talk a little bit more about what the next step in that is. Broy, yes.
Broy.
That actually makes me sad because, I'm from the era when an entrepreneur was still a really respectable thing to be. And now
Well,
it's
okay.
all broy.
Hold
So
on.
back in the day, an entrepreneur was someone who started a business.
Well, okay, but so this is not all coins are a quarter and all quarters are a coin kind of situation, right? But
Right.
if I put 100 people who were like, yeah, man, I'm an entrepreneur in a group, and yeah, man, I'm a founder. Like there's just a different quality with which they
You're right.
speak, right? And
You're right.
it always makes me nervous at this stage whenever I'm talking to someone who just wants to see if they can make money in a situation, right?
Sure.
There was a guy named Scott who just had an idea. He was like, hey, this is going to work and stuff like this. And he wasn't really doing anything different or anything else. He just saw a gap, thought he could solve for it, wanted a salesperson, but he wasn't actually like called to try to fix this thing. He just thought that it would be an easy productized way to make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, then when it didn't work and he was just like, see you later, I'm out, the salesperson had to go find something else to do and something else like that. So I'm not looking for someone who's going to go down with the ship per se, but I do want someone who's going to try to figure it out, as opposed to just, okay, first brush, this was harder than I thought it was going to be, which it always is, and we're going to be out the door.
Yeah. It's a great qualifier. I was just lamenting the fact that but like, particularly to Anne's question, unfortunately, hey, Mike, there's a lot of people, and I'm not going to broad brush millennials or Zs, but there's a more apt, there's more of a, are you talking about entrepreneur? Is that what you're talking about? Who stole it? There's more of a, just, hey, let's go try this out and see if this works. And then it was like, bro, it didn't work. Oh, bro, we got killed. Bro, hey, that's part of it. And then the marketing started getting really broy and like,
yes,
anyone can do this. All you gotta do is buy this thing and you can like go crush this tomorrow. And like, if you can't, you're not putting in the hard work, you're not doing the grind. So yeah, that's where the broy side came up to it. So great.
What's very interesting to me is just how different the circles are on the different platforms, right? Because on LinkedIn, I'm connected to all these sales craft people, right? They work in tech, they work in revenue operations, they work in like, hey, if they, here's the definition of an MQL, and like this means it's now, like, they have it blueprinted, right? And it's awesome. On Facebook, it's all direct response copy people who think that like you can sell anybody anything and stuff like that. And so like like these polls are very different groups of people, obviously,
Absolutely.
So it's very,
and part of it's who you're attracted to in your feed too, because I do see the direct response people on LinkedIn and I do see the data people on Facebook.
It is a very good thing whenever Jake gets all broed up.
Bro, I'm gonna hit the greens and hit CrossFit, and then I'm gonna go write a direct response letter that's gonna slay.
Yeah, it's gonna outperform the control, bro. It's gonna be
my test is more or more.
the CTAs on the bottom, bro. Oh man, they're so polarizing. It's gonna be great.
Oh, have you tried like a blue button versus a red button? That's it. You beat it, man.
And then with that same conversation is also, hey man, I went over my terms and conditions again. Promise PayPal can't just take that money out of my account, as opposed to like making them deliverable better.
Yeah. Okay. So let's not get too caught in the bro, because that would be way easy.
Yes.
We could go for days. So yeah, I was telling you that last year I was kind of talking to you about where do I go from here? Okay. So I kind of know. So you've talked about traits of people that you like working with, but like we haven't gone to the traditional like avatar sense yet of, oh, it's this person who owns this size business with this many employees, with, who's in this industry, who da. And you and I have talked a bit about that, and that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. It's just people who fit those sort of set of filters. But if we do want to outbound prospect, we do have to find a way to attach those type of activities to certain types of people that we know tend to be that way more, right? So that we can go find them.
Well, here's okay. So,
I mean, obviously,
yes,
sorry, let me split that first. Obviously, we can write that way and attract people that
yes,
agree, but that's inbound. Technically, we're writing so that people will see us and come in and then engage them. Versus, I want to actually go out.
I still think it matters in your outbound messaging.
Oh,
Right,
sure.
because
Sure.
because how you write about it is going to generate the inbound that you're looking for, right, based upon the audience and stuff like that. But once again, if I am going to do outbound and I'm just going to say, hey, I would love to have a meeting with you, can we please have a meeting, right? I need to write in language that is going to resonate with the yay side of this thing than the nay side of this thing, right?
The language matters in both cases. Yep.
Yes, exactly, right.
So okay, well, so that's the question. Are you about to go outbound this thing with the language, or just write for it and come in, or both?
Well, the end goal, right, is that we have a totally marketing facing system that resonates with this right audience, gets those people to take the right actions, and to get a package that makes sense for them. So that's the ultimate goal, is have, ad, landing page, checkout flow for whatever they decide that they need. But I want to, to me, there's the writing exercises around that to make sure that it's resonating with that audience, and then there's targeting to make sure that that's being seen to the right people. Because are we happy people today? Yeah, I think.
Just staging, yeah.
Okay. So where was I? Oh, okay. So I'm going to start using this. Well, I already know to listen for the yay column in my conversations with people, right? These are the people who I'm inviting to my Slack community. These are the people who I'm continuing to engage with past that first brush, right? Not necessarily indicating that they're ready for my help, but they're in a pool of people that if they ever decide that they do need my help, I've already identified that they're worth working with, right? Yeah. I'm going to just keep moving for now, because we've not gotten to a point to where they've actually said, oh, I need this. Hey, I need to hire. Hey, I need some sales coaching and sales training. I've just seen that you're on this side of this thing, and I want to hang out with you more, than being on this side of the thing, indicating that we're never going to be able to work together, kind of deal.
Right. So, yeah. And then when you're starting to research the types of problems to write about, you want to make sure that you're talking to the people on the right side there. Because when you're having those conversations, they're going to say the things that you want to turn around and create content around, right? Yeah,
right. Because this is an interesting thing. I think that the pains are the same. How you internalize them, how you realize them are different, right? So I think that both people are like, man, I really wish I had a better view on what the sales team is doing. I think that's the actual pain point. But a nay person is like, well, here's why I need this, because the salespeople are always out just screwing around and never doing their job, right? Well, on the other side of it, the yay column is like, hey, I just want to be able to plan better, right? I want to know how much sales is going to bring in, because it does count towards the other parts of the business, but I also want to be fair and valid with how we do this thing. Okay, great. It's the same problem, just talked about in two different vastly ways.
I was going to say, it's essentially the same root problem, but the way that they talk about it's different. So even the way that you present the title or the email subject line is going to be different.
Yes.
Story brand would tell you there's an internal and an external problem around every comment. The external one is the one that sounds different. The internal one is actually the same, right?
Yeah.
So the internal is, we're having a hard time getting, we're having a hard time getting.
Are you okay? Are you dying over there?
Yes, we all are eventually. But not the second. But the internal problem is, hey, we're having an issue with the sales team not performing the way that we think it should perform, and it's really frustrating me. Internally, I'm frustrated. Externally, we talk about two different ways.
Well, and that's where good salespeople are going to be like, tell me more about that. Like, what do you mean by that? What does that feel like? What are you measuring? And it's important to know that the first level question, you're not going to get this quality of answer that you're looking for, right? You can't just be like, oh, hey, do you need better sales results? Like that's the rock skipping across the top of the lake,
Yeah.
right? And you're making a connection, but you're not actually diving for depth. You're just kind of going for breadth. Well, you only need like one or two like really strong pain points that like actually connect to something else in their business. And when you ask questions that drive down, that's when you figure out how do they talk about this, how do they measure it, and stuff like that. But if you just show up and you're a marketer and you're like, hey, don't you want to grow? Well, yeah, I want to grow. Okay, great.
Grow.
Well, join our program. Okay,
Bro,
well,
you trying to grow? Come on, let's go.
exactly.
Join my community.
Next level groundbreaking initiative program, right? Mastermind. You could just come join for 7 easy payments of the rest of your life. So the pains are the same. How they talk about them are different. And as well, there's just an honorary title that Jake. Oh, my name is also, I didn't even realize that my name down here was saying Jake.
Oh,
okay, that is so funny. Now that makes sense
go.
why the comment at the top. Okay, yes. I am Jake Jordan with hair, everybody.
Holy cow. If you ever wanted to know what that looked like. Here we go. I'm really about to throw everyone's faces off.
Samsonite locks.
Boom.
Oh my God. Yes.
We have reversed the universe, everyone.
We have switched places. So you need to talk way more nerdy. I need to talk way more cool.
I need a headset.
You need a headset for sure.
It's in there.
Yeah.
We both have whiteboards though. That's where we meet in the center of the universe. That's where we cross over. At the whiteboard. But you crawl through like Stranger Things. Or like Wanda. Yep. So
okay. So back to this. Okay. So these are things that I've heard. These are things that I know to be true, right? And to be clear, like for the full exercise, for sure, you need to go through and kind of talk about the pain points that people have. I know my pain points for the people that I'm talking to around this thing. I think it's important to talk about the quality with which they answer is indicative.
Okay, well, stop there because most people aren't you. Most people do not talk as much as you do to customers. And when they do, they're not trolling for pain points or repeated pain points to capture. And that is, you have to have that. You have to have that if you want to be effective. You have to. And so you have to capture that somewhere else. So if we were doing like a next step for like a piece of homework for someone, and you may have this written down somewhere, I would put those in a repository somewhere. It's like, this is the running list of pain points we know this group of people wants. Because when you have sales and marketing is like, what should we write about? Sales goes, here's the list. What have you written about yet? Mm-hmm. So, okay. So you've done that. Great.
Done this. What is the next step?
The next step is to figure out what strategy, really, right? It's what strategy are you taking on this? Are we going all outbound? Or are we going to build a funnel with some marketing copy and content? Or we're
going to do both. We're going to show the people both sides of this thing, right? Because the outbound stuff is my side of the fence, right? It's the stuff I'm very familiar with. I have a list of marketing agency owners that I have that we can use for this exercise. The thing that I don't know how to do is how to use all these ideas into an inbound generating kind of machine. This is the gap that I've kind of always had on the marketing side of things. So I know how to do the outbound. I don't know how to generate the inbound, or I don't know the steps.
So there's two ways to go in this, and I actually have been commenting on several people's stuff on LinkedIn over the past few weeks around this. Oh
my God, my coffee's so hot.
Oh man. So now you're dying.
Kinda. Yeah. Oh my God.
A slow burning death from the inside.
Yeah. Alice was like, hey, I want to make money again. Can I make your coffee? And I was like, yeah, sure.
How sweet.
Oh so hot. Oof.
So there's two ways to think about it. Either, and my preference is I want to write content for the bottom of the funnel first, because I want to catch people who already are kind of in the process of thinking, I need to figure something out quickly. And so I'd rather capture people who are almost ready to make a decision but haven't, and write about the most common objections to hiring someone like a Jake Jordan.
So
whatever your top 5 biggest objections to hiring a sales coach that you hear all the time are, that's where I'd start writing.
Okay.
And then working in reverse back up to the top of the funnel. Because you're going to gather money to then pay someone to go back up the funnel for you and write other stuff.
And I like this idea of working backwards, right? Because that's how I think about the world anyway, right? Okay, give me the end solution that we're going for. What kind of steps do I need to put to make that the most common output more than any other outputs, right? So like in a sales thing, how do I build the boxes? How do I build the sequence so that way we get more yeses than we do nos? And then great, are those yeses also staying? Are they the right kinds of people? All that other stuff. So working backwards from there is good. So my thought on this is to map this to like a marketing funnel, right? So they're aware, they want to fix it, right? So at that stage, it's all about decision, right?
Yeah.
And that is where you're talking about features and benefits, right? Because consideration is comparing you to others in my thinking of it. So is that the stuff I'm writing about? Here's why you work with us versus trying to figure it out on your own.
I'm splitting hairs here. But no, it's actually right before that even. Like at the very bottom is I would never, ever hire a sales coach. That's kind of the last thing, objection. Well, maybe not. Depends, I guess, how you look at it. Features and benefits comparison-wise, to me, is a step up in the funnel. And I'm still thinking about it. I need to figure out who's the best candidates.
Yes.
I need to narrow it to 2 or 3. This is like, okay, now I'm convinced that there is something I need to do, and it's probably a coach. But gosh, coaching are so bro-y, and they're just do they really get results? And how do you even really measure what you get once you're hiring them? And like those last things that are in front of you pressing by, to me, that's what you start with. Because like for me, as a marketing strategist, I had to do the same thing. I was like, well, yeah, but marketing's, we'll pay you $10,000 and then we hope we get results. And John would be like, yeah, but salespeople, you get sales right away. So if we're working. But marketing people, you can't measure their results, not for 6 months or whatever. So,
I mean, you can, there's not gonna be anything to measure for a while.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm hearing all that correctly, okay, then the blog content article, the article talking about this point, right? Because like I'm just thinking about this as like a list of check boxes. Okay, great. So if we're talking about this stage down here on the end, okay, to check this box, essentially the article that I need to read or the content that we need to create is how do you measure success from working with a sales coach?
Right? Or yes, I think that's part of it for sure. But what are the objections you get from people that have never hired a sales coach or have and have failed with a sales coach? Because there's normally 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that are common to like, I don't know if they may not, to your point, right? They may mask the language and not say, I don't believe in hiring a sales coach or I don't trust sales coaches. It may show up in a different excuse. Right. But at the core of it is like, I've never hired a sales coach and I don't know if sales coach is actually really the right person for this because what are these things? That's the content.
So in my experience, nobody has a because, right? Well, let me rephrase that. It's not a good because, right? It's always, I just need more leads kind of deal, right? So what happens is like, I don't get hey, John, I don't need this because I'm fine. It's I don't need this. I need more of this, right? So it's almost like they don't want to show the craft any love, kind of deal.
So maybe it is, how does a sales coach actually help you create more leads? Because that is speaking to the fact that I don't believe a sales coach can help me create more leads.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, things like that, whatever those are. And we could probably show an exercise and how to break this down, but on a show if we wanted to. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to do what you were talking about earlier, which is I call it rule of 3, is you never stop with the first question. It's like, for sure. Okay, tell me more about that. Okay, it sounds like you've had some bad experience with a sales coach.
Interesting. Where do other coaches fail? That's very interesting. Yeah. I have a lot of talking points on that, and things that I've had in discussions with others, right? Really what it comes down to, and I don't know how to talk about this. Sorry, for hitting the mic. I don't know how to talk about this in a way that doesn't come across heavy-handed, but most other sales coaching, you're being shoved into a mold. It's kind of like when you go to the Army, right? And you get your head shaved and you get your uniforms and you're going around calling everybody sir and drill sergeant and stuff like this. And that is kind of the beginning of a process of change.
Yeah.
So, the thing that I think that makes me different is I can help people sell without trying to change who they are. Like the mindset juice you drink with me versus the mindset juice you drink with like a Grant Cardone or one of these other people, it's not nearly the same amount of talking yourself into it. It's just about alignment, right? When people are aligned, they will take action because they're intrinsically motivated. So I don't know a whole lot of other sales coaches who don't just like talk at people and just like try to force them to do certain things. And there's lots of sales consultants who only know one way, and so they're trying to get you to run your business their way that they know to be successful.
So that is an objection that should be an article, because I can completely relate to the fact that I don't want to go in and learn your sales system and convince myself to do it every time I get online or on a phone call.
Yeah,
that's a huge objection for me. I much prefer your system, and where I just need to align my preferences and strengths into a place, into a conversation style that brings about good outputs.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great example. That's something that I would think you get objections that are that. And if you don't, they just haven't said them yet, because that totally rang in my head.
I mean, it's not even a thing that I am aware of, right? And then I'll talk to someone and I'm like, hey, why do you like our stuff differently? And it's like, I've never had anybody actually teach me why these things work. They just say, hey, use these things, and then they get mad when I don't use them.
Well,
right?
Let's just do this right now. We have people on here who are salespeople. What's a reason that you wouldn't hire a sales coach? Put it in the comments.
This is rad. That? Please. Yeah. Why would you never hire a sales coach?
Yeah. Why do you not hire sales coaches? What's icky about that, or what's
Gabe, I want to build this so badly. I want to build, because I don't like having to look away from my mic to write on the whiteboard. So eventually I would love to be able to just be right here, maintain good camera and microphone discipline, and still just be able to write on a whiteboard right here. I just don't have a build yet, but it is on the bucket list.
And technically, there's lots of online whiteboards that we could share while we do this thing. So we could do that too if we wanted to. It's a good idea, Gabe.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I have whiteboards. They're here. They're behind me. They're just not in camera view like Jake's. Sorry.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, dude. You put in all the effort to make sure you didn't mess it up.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
That's next step for me.
Let's see if we get some good kind of like feedback around this, because we get more reviews on the replays than we do on the first time.
So in the comments down below, this will be the thumbnail.
For sure.
In the comments down below, please put your the reasons you won't hire, or you haven't hired a sales coach in the past, or if friction, or
and I think it's important to say why have you not to this point, not like the forward-facing view of it, right? Because, well, if you're watching this show, hopefully you're open to an idea of like, maybe I should work with John. But if you get into that spot of like, well, here's why I'll never hire a sales coach, right? You're just talking yourself into it in a forward-facing way.
Well, that comes back to your filter, right? What language are they using on your board?
That's true. That's
right?
true.
Because if they're using the correct language, then it's like, oh, tell me more about that. I'd love to hear more.
This is interesting, right? And this is one of the hardest things that I deal with, right? Is trying to get people, because I don't show up and juice people around what we're going to be able to do, right? Like, I'm not over here, you're going to close every deal.
Right.
You're going to close it on your terms. I don't do any of that stuff. So, but it is a hard thing to explain to people, quantify without setting the wrong idea and intention.
Yep. What was it that Moose said? I actually went back in the replay and quoted it. And he said, would you rather have a group full of 100% of interested people, but not blank, or 100% blank and not interested? I can't think of the verb he used. Because, you have the right people who need your stuff, qualified. He said, would you rather have 100% qualified with no interest, or 100% interest, but not qualified? Right. I'd always rather have the qualified, because it's the right people. I don't care if I get 100 people who are interested if they're not qualified.
Yes.
Same idea here, right? We're just trying to build that in reverse. We're trying to draw in the qualified.
Yes.
And pick out the interested.
Yes. My coach talked about it. You got to be willing and able.
True.
Right. Because you're talking to lots of people who are willing but are broke. Right. And the people who are most excited to talk to you are the people who never have any money. Because they've already decided it's a no. They've already decided it's a thing. So they're willing, but they're not able, and they can't wait to have a conversation with you, right? You need to be skeptical. You need to be listening for that kind of stuff and kind of just tracking it for yourself. On the other side of it, you have lots of people who are able, right, but not willing, right? And these are all these people who have had a business for like 30 days and like, you know what, I'm just going to go talk to Fortune 500s. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense, you know?
Not at all.
So it is both of those things being together. Are they willing and able? Some of the ones, ooh, interesting.
Yeah. This is some of the broy stuff we were talking about, Ann.
Some of the ones I didn't like said you have to do 100 DMs daily and pushed volume, not quality. Yeah, like that's where most of them are.
John and I both actually got on a thread a week or two of a guy who was a young guy, clearly talking about this, saying, yeah, and he was actually seemed to be a genuinely nice guy too.
Yeah, he's trying to do it the right way.
He was just spitting the Kool-Aid out of his mouth that he had been drinking back out on us.
Yeah, he goes. If everybody just called their prospects for 5 days in a row, and then decided that they weren't a fit, the world would be a better place. And so,
from a different number.
Okay. Oh yeah, but yeah, and so then we get to that point, right? So I get tagged in this conversation, and I'm like, okay, you know, the world would be a better place, right? It would also be a better place if prospects could just say at the first brush, hey, I'm not a prospect for you. I don't need this. Please don't follow up. Like that's all it takes to avoid salespeople getting yelled at by prospects who could have told them 5 stages earlier that they weren't a fit, but they just didn't feel comfortable doing so.
Or they get 16 other DMs every day and don't have time to go tell everyone that.
That is true, you know, and that's part of being aware of the market, right? Everyone's attention is so pulled. So, so someone is just in there being like, oh, you went in there and you were like, hey man, I can appreciate the hustle and the thought, but like, I don't know that this process is going to make sense because I block you. Right. Yeah. And the guy doesn't respond with like, oh, interesting. Tell me more about that. Well, how should I be doing it differently? He just responds with, how are you going to block my number, bro, when I use an app that spoofs my number? Like, that doesn't fix the problem.
It'll be a different number every time.
Yeah. Like that doesn't remove the griminess of this thing of just calling someone over and over and over and over. And is it wrong? No. Is it good? No. It's also not good, right? There's room in the middle, right? And the room in the middle is where the philosophy of sales and outreach really come into place, right? If you don't want it done on you, but you're doing it to other people, in my opinion, you're a hypocrite, right? So like, if you're like, I don't take cold calls, but then you're running a team of cold callers, that makes you the asshole,
what are you doing?
In my opinion.
Well, and that was my actual follow-up. I was like, so if this is what I was doing to you, would you answer my call from a number that you didn't recognize? And he goes, of course, I'm a salesperson. Ha ha. I'd want to hear what their pitch is.
Yeah.
Sure, probably, but you're one of 1,000 that might do that. You're a geek like us, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then you sell the way you want to be sold. So the fact that you are doing these things, you are going to potentially carve out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most effective and efficient way for other people to do it. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff wrong with that whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, we got to wrap.
Yes, we do. 100 DMs daily and push volume, not quality. Okay, Mike, I'll think on that. Thank you.
Yep. I would say, I mentioned yesterday about relationship goals. So if we want to maybe talk about that tomorrow,
yes, please.
Talk about that. I got a couple of minds.
Good.
So how about that? And then I would say kind of next steps on your thing.
Please.
Is those subjects, like whether those blog articles or videos that you need to create to answer those very bottom of the funnel. I don't want to hire sales coach questions.
Okay, cool. I will work on that today.
And whenever, this week, that's just next, I think.
That's next. Cool. So, awesome. Thank you to Mike, Tal, Dylan, and Gabe.
Tornado.
Yes.
He's got the tornadoes around his name.
Joby Job over on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sorry you're going through that.
Yeah, Joby Job. Sorry, man.
Stick in there. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming to hang out with us. If you know some other people who should be watching this because they're starting a business, they're stuck in their business, they're trying to figure out how to get unstuck. As much as I hate that as like a big ambiguous label of people that we're trying to talk to, send them this way. This is why we're doing this. So one of the reasons, interesting.
I saw that. I'll hit you up in Slack, Mike. I've got some thoughts on that.
I have so many questions about that, Mike. Interesting. All right. So we will be back here tomorrow, everybody. We have a huge guest on Friday. We will tell you about it tomorrow. We're still going to cliffhang you a little bit. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not following this person, I don't know why you're on the platform.
Yeah, you're probably not live, to be honest.
We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But it's going to be a good guest on Friday. You guys want to be here for that. I'll do this exercise today. I'm going to talk about the content that we should be talking about at that last stage. We'll have that lined out tomorrow, and then I can go give it to Melissa. She can start writing some of that stuff. So yeah.
Sweet. Awesome.
All right, Bill. I hope you have a good day, man. Do you need anything from me today?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. What about you?
Awesome. I have a regular day of calls. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, I have 5 calls. So I have some blocks between them for blocking and tackling. So that's when I'm going to do the other stuff.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow.